Welcome to Home Gym History. This is Rob from Vintage Weights PGH, and I have an 8-time Team USA weightlifter, Alejandro Medina. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, man? Good to be on.
Yeah, doing all right. So Alejandro hit me up on Instagram because he was working on some barbells and restoring them, and I gotta say, like, very impressive work. I liked what you
Thank
did.
you.
Yeah, I mean, you went from like basic question at the start to like you fired through. I don't even know how many barbells did you work on.
Uh, about five or six, maybe
Yeah,
seven total.
it was like every other day. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh, he's doing another barbell. So then,
yeah.
as I kind of like checked out his Instagram, I'm like, hey, 2023 Pan Am champ, 2022 Nationals champ. This guy is an accomplished weightlifter, and I've never had an Olympic weightlifter on the show. So thank you so much for coming by. You can kind of enlighten my listeners a little bit if they don't know too much about Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I mean, what do you want to know?
Well, I mean, let's just start here. Okay. Right out of the gate, Team USA. If
Hmm.
you are a weightlifter, how do you make it on Team USA?
Uh, traditionally it's been basically just top 10 in the country.
Okay.
Get on the team. So right now we're in the process of change. Like things are changing right now with the new procedures going into the Pan Am. So for this Pan Am's, I believe they changed it to top 8.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, so generally it's top 8 across, or top 5 historically, or top 10 historically, top 8 now, across all the weight classes. So they use like NRS, which is like your percent to metal. They get the average of the metals from the prior 3 years. They take your percentage of your total percentage of what that would be, and whoever has the highest percentage is basically how you get on. That's how you do top 10, like among all the weight classes, because obviously you're competing in different weight classes. You can have different totals.
so then it's a ranking based system there,
Yeah.
but it goes back 3 years. So if you're a rookie, it's going to take you a little while to climb
No,
the
no, no.
ranks.
The number. So like you
Oh,
total
okay.
yeah. So let's say the number for my weight class. I don't know what it is, but let's say it's like 390 or something, and that's like
Mm,
a percentage. They take a percentage, or they take the 3 years prior. They take the gold medal, the bronze medal, and the silver medal,
mm,
and how your total averages with that. So like if you hit 380 and that average with that ended up being like 390, it's your percentage of that total.
gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I kind of maybe butchered that a little bit, but
No, no, it's
yeah,
all
that's
right.
yeah. So you can be brand new, and if you hit a big enough number, you could hop right on the team.
You're right in there. So
Yeah.
then once you're on the team, what does that mean? What competitions are you going to? What, to represent
So
Team USA?
you have to qualify for each individual team.
Okay.
So each one has their own qualifying period. So the Pan Am that is coming up in July, the last competition to qualify was in March at the Arnold. So yeah, you qualify one at a time. If you get to top 10, or like I said now top 8, you get
Mm,
your invite for the team. So then they get on the team. It's usually, at least as far as I've been on the team, the trip is all funded. The hotels are funded. You get the food all taken care of and things like that. So you get taken care of on the trips, and you get to compete for Team USA. But yeah, it's each one is like an individual qualifier, which does make it a little difficult, because it's not like you're getting like you get on a team and you have like a 2 or 3 year contract and you're kind of taken care
yeah.
of, and it's like you
Yeah.
have to fight for a spot every single team. And basically, it's Pan Am's and Worlds are the yearly events, and then on the
Mm,
Olympic year you have more events because there's Olympic qualifiers. So this last Olympic quad, there was World Cup, there was Grand Prix 1, Grand Prix 2, and those were all funded. All the qualifiers were funded by Team USA, and
okay.
all necessary to try to compete to get into the Olympic team.
Gotcha.
But in a normal year, it's usually just World Championships and Pan Am Championships, and then
Okay.
Pan Am Games, Olympics, all that, every 4 years. So
Sure. And then reaching back though into, your kind of like entry into all of this, you know, take me back. Like how'd this all start for you? Like how'd you start lifting? When's the first time you picked up a barbell?
yeah, first time I picked up a barbell, I was 13, and that was because I was overweight and wanted to lose weight. So it had nothing to do with strength or anything like that. That's how it was from 13, 14, and 15. I got more into sports and
Okay.
wanted to get stronger. but I had already established a decent background. And I did a lot of, in high school, I did track, I did football. I did a little bit of wrestling, some things in middle school as well. But football is what I did throughout high school. And I lifted weights to be better at football. And then I went to go play college football at Whitewater, Wisconsin, and I dropped out of school. My roommate was the co-captain of the weightlifting team.
Hmm.
So I got into it my freshman year, trying to be a little competitive with him.
Yeah.
And when obviously when you're no longer in school, you can't keep playing football. I wanted to remain competitive in something, and I just kind of, completely went for it with weightlifting. So that was the beginning of like snatching and cleaning and jerking was like around 18 years old, but I had already had about 5 years of lifting experience.
So then how did you learn specifically the Olympic lifts? Was it, from him, from?
Yeah, I got super lucky. If you can go, uh, I don't have any pictures on hand. I'd have to scroll for a while, but we had like 13 platforms, all kilo plates, all York barbells and old York bumper plates. So it was actually pretty cool.
Wow.
And it was a club. It was just a team club. It wasn't like a sport or it
Yeah.
wasn't like a football team or basketball team or anything like that. And we just happened to have a really good group of guys. It was like the best club for weightlifting in that state, which was actually like somewhat competitive. There was a lot of other little small weightlifting clubs, and I had no idea what it was. I went to college, and they just happened to have a really cool thing going on there, and a really cool setup for Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah.
So, and then I started learning from all the guys there.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. And yeah, my roommate as well.
Because, yeah, I mean, I've just out of curiosity, I've tried some Olympic lifts and completely butchered them and almost injured myself. But,
Yeah.
there's, whenever I watch Olympic weightlifting, I'm astounded by the technique involved. It's very cool. So then when it comes to training, you mentioned how, once you get to this level where you're competing on this type of stage, you've got worlds, you've got Pan Ams. How many other competitions a year are you jumping into, with those being like the two big ones?
Ideally, not too many more. That was part of the reason. The stressful thing with the Olympic quad was it was so many. So I was on like the border of like making teams. So top 10 go, I would get like I'd be like ninth or eighth, seventh, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I'm fighting for a spot where like somebody who maybe is up like Hampton Morris would be number one, right? He's ranked number one. He still does every meet. He's a different animal, but you can kind of coast, right? You can
Yeah,
take that
yeah.
total and coast into the next one. Where I had to keep fighting to like retain my spot every meet. So we had in the Olympic qualifiers, we had how to work with Pan Am's in April,
Mhm.
and then we had Grand Prix in June, and then we had Worlds in September, and then we had Grand Prix 2 in December, and then we had Europeans in February, and then
Man.
World Cup in April. So you have 3 months at best, 2 months for a handful of them. And that's like not ideal at all because you're just like peaking your body over and over and over. And you're basically like slowly kind of over time declining because like there's no opportunity to go back and like rebuild and kind of, catch your breath. You're just like peaking your body. Okay, then you go peak your body again. And your body starts, at least for me, it was like feeling like my body was falling apart. So I'd say ideally like 2 to 3.
Okay.
Where you like want to be very competitive, you can maybe jump in a local meet or something, right? Where you're not like doing a full peak for, like tapering yourself for.
Mhm.
But yeah, once more than 4, especially if you're actually peaking yourself and you're trying to like go for numbers that you haven't gone for at each one, it's putting a good strain on your body. But yeah, ideally 2 to 3 would be pretty good. You know.
So then when you're around like college age here and you start hitting this club and learning how to do the lifts and you're getting competitive, what was the time period like for you in terms of your first competitions and getting into that world? Like, how
So
long did it take you
yeah,
until you medaled,
I
for
started
example? How long did it take you until?
well at the local level, like right away. And then for nationals, my first medal was 2017. I went to school in 2014. So about
Okay.
3 years of lifting for a university national medal, which is, not senior nationals, it's collegiate nationals essentially.
Hmm.
Um, and then my first senior level medal was 2020. So it was 6 years to get a
Okay.
senior level medal. So I believe, well, Yeah, kind of. Because we have these other things called like AO series,
Mm.
um, which I had medaled at before, but that's like a low. It's like a state level entry total. So it's like a national level. So you can kind of get your people who haven't competed nationals or AO, they can get like a national level feel, but it's I wouldn't consider it like a national level. So like I medaled at those, but for like a senior nationals or American Open finals, those are the two big ones
Mm.
that like require a larger total, a more competitive, hard to achieve total. 2020 was the first one.
Okay.
2020, yeah, 2020, maybe even 2021. I think 2020.
But I mean,
So
that gives a good idea to listeners that, the time that went into kind of building up to those different levels, if you will.
yeah. I had 5 years of lifting under my belt going into weightlifting. So like I went into weightlifting with a 500-pound deadlift,
Hmm.
a 475 squat. Oh, my bench was horrible. I didn't even know what my bench was. But like I went into it with already decent numbers, pretty good numbers for like a high schooler, and then did 6 years of weightlifting. So like 11 years of lifting total,
Yeah.
essentially, to get to that to get a national level medal.
And then I think I saw in one of your posts that you're super heavyweight. Is that correct or no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So have you been that throughout your career or no?
No, that was just to try to go to the Olympics. That was
Okay.
the path of least resistance. We didn't really have
Gotcha.
any really good super heavies.
Hmm.
We had Kane Wilkes, who has like been the best super heavy for quite a while, but he was supposed to be kind of on his way out and retiring. So like I wasn't too, it's like okay, so this guy probably won't be in the equation, which he ended up being. Ended up being me and him ended up being the supers on the Olympic quad for the whole time. So he was supposed to retire, and then you had another guy named Kaiser who's very talented as well, but he's like on and off. He'll show up and then disappear for a year or two. So it was kind of the spot was like kind of open. And now we have another really good super as well, but he kind of came on like right at the beginning of the Olympic quad, where
Okay.
like he's hitting a lot higher numbers than I was at the time now. But I managed at the last chance qualifier to kilo him and get into that Olympic run when he was still fairly new. He was a real super heavyweight. He weighs like 180 kilos.
Mm.
I was like 128. Um, so I was kind of competing somewhat out of my depth, but I got kind of lucky because he was fairly new, super strong, but just didn't have the snatch and clean and jerk down the same way that I did.
Mm.
Was able to kilo him at the last chance qualifier, get on the world team, and I was able to do the entire Olympic quad. So now we definitely have two. We have a couple. We have some good supers. It doesn't make sense for me to be there anymore. So right after the last Olympic qualifier in April, where I did not qualify, I immediately started cutting the weight because
Gotcha.
it's uncomfortable to be almost 300 pounds when I'm 5'11". So I'm
Oh
not,
wow! I was just gonna
yeah,
ask how tall you are. Like, so that's exactly how tall I am. So I can relate.
right,
I can relate, man. Yeah, and I'm about 195. So carrying around an
right.
extra 105 pounds at 5'11". Woo.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
quote unquote like thin now, and
yeah,
like I'm 250 pounds, but
yeah,
by comparison, when I was 300 or board, I was like 297 is like the most I ever saw. I never saw 300 on the scale. I
yeah.
got pretty close, but by comparison, I forget that like 250 pounds is still a pretty big guy because I was so used to being almost 300 pounds.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, putting on that weight, are you just consuming all you
Dude,
can? I mean,
yeah,
what was that
eating in a
process? Just eating,
eating in
eating, eating?
abundance. Yeah,
Yeah,
like tons of red meat. Like really, really. I still eat tons of red meat, but like really fatty red meat. Like, do you know what picanha is? It's
I
a
don't.
it's a top sirloin
Okay.
with like it has a huge fat cup on it. So like the fat cap is like this thick, and so like a top sirloin would be the same thing with the
Yeah.
fat cap like cut off.
Okay.
So I would eat like a whole picanha, like with the whole fat cap. I wouldn't
Oh
take
my
trim any of
gosh.
it. It's probably like I mean, probably close to like 200 grams of fat, maybe more. I don't know. Picanha has tons of fat,
This
and I
is
would
a
eat.
odd reference, but there's this old movie, Uncle Buck, where he sits down to eat this humongous steak, and that's what I'm thinking of right now. But anyway,
Yeah, dude. I was doing it every night, and then I would have like a pint of
that's
ice
yeah.
cream, sometimes 2 pints of ice cream. Like I was really thin. Like I ran not cross country. I ran track as well in high school.
Well, I was
Like I
gonna
was
say
like
you picked up a barbell to lose weight, and then
yeah, I
fast
was
forward, now you're
quite the
packing it
opposite.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was a 5 minute miler weighing like 160 pounds.
Wow.
So like it wasn't like it was like just second nature for me to eat and put on weight.
Sure.
So I definitely had to eat really like high fatty things, just like things that are super calorically dense, like ice cream and very fatty red meat. So not just red meat, but like picanhas and ribeyes were kind of like I would eat that like all
Yeah.
day long, with a lot of rice, so heavy carbs.
That's
So
intense. So then
it's a
coming
lot.
out of that, now, you've dropped a bunch of that weight and you're coming
Hmm.
back down to, you said, about 250. So nowadays, three white lights, gym, you own a gym, three white lights in Florida,
Hmm.
correct?
Yes.
What part of Florida are you in?
Miami.
Okay. So you're in Miami, three white lights gym. But prior to the gym, were you working some type of day job or something while you're training as you're going through this?
Yeah, for the most part, most of the athletes are working. There's only so much funding,
Yeah.
so I do online coaching, online programming. I own a print shop as well, and I was starting up the gym as well, trying to get that rolling.
Okay.
But yeah, the primarily was online remote coaching, and then I had the print shop, and then prior to like 2022, I managed a different gym. I managed hybrid, worked at a few different gyms, and I would go on and off working with my dad, who has his own company.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha. So then
yeah.
what's the between the jobs and the training, what's the balance like? Like, did it take you a while to find a balance between day job and training, finding time to train, finding a job that could be flexible with training?
Yeah, I kind of feel like I started to figure it out now. I
Yeah.
never really like. I feel like I was just stressed out the entire time. The whole time, once I actually made my first team, and I got a little bit of funding for a little while. I got on like a silver level stipend for like 6 months, and then ironically, I won Pan Am's and I got my stipend cut.
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
so then at that point, I'm like, from that point all the way to the end of the Olympic quad, I was kind of pretty stressed out. I feel like I never really found a good balance because like you don't want to work, like I want to
Yeah.
dedicate, everything to training, and you're trying to find. So that's why I did so much online coaching. So and you're trying to find something that the most passive income that you could get, so that you can train full time. It's definitely stressful because even even the best athletes are only getting paid so much. There's only so much funding in this sport. Like you said, it's like that you're not very familiar with it, and that's for probably because it's not as popular. It doesn't. There's not as much people watching. There's not as much money invested in it, so it's definitely really tough to do both. But yeah, most of the people have jobs, and I never really found a great balance with it too much.
Well,
Sadly. So
when did you open Three White Lights?
this year, so
This
yeah,
year.
very recently, yeah, in around January. So
Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
it was
Very
a
recently.
yeah. So it was a print shop with a platform for me to train in,
Hmm.
and then it was a print shop with two platforms, and then a print shop with three platforms, and then four platforms, and now I have like 15 platforms. And I wasn't restoring much equipment, but I was collecting. I had all these different Alico bars, a few American barbells that I
Nice.
opened up that I showed you with the bolt
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
inside that was difficult to. A handful of Usakas. We have like a 1995 Usaka. We have a couple of 2004, 2008 Alicos, which are like the better Alicos in my opinion. So like I was just collecting things, and I was like, and then by the like before I knew it, I'm like I have more than any gym in the area would have. It doesn't make like I can't use all this stuff by myself. So it was like
Yeah.
me and a couple of friends training there. So
Oh, you're speaking my
like
language in terms of
yeah,
collecting. I mean,
yeah.
I
There
got
was
more
always like
barbells than I know what to
yeah,
do with. So yeah.
there was always like opening a gym in the back of my mind. It was but it was never like the. I always wanted to do it, and I always knew I wanted to do it, but I wasn't like collecting these things with that in mind. I was just kind of like collecting things, and then kind of whatever happens. But like I'm just like scavenging Facebook Marketplace, and I find a deal. I'm like, I can't not buy that, and then I find another
Yeah.
deal. I'm like, well, that's something that I can't not buy either.
Yeah.
So
That's the way.
yeah, I'm sure you've gone down that rabbit hole.
Oh, that's
So
while I was waiting for you to get on, I was on Facebook Marketplace looking
I have
looking.
I have that's also why I don't reply that much on Instagram. I actually have Instagram and Facebook Marketplace blocked on my phone from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. because
Nice.
of how I'm spending money that I just don't have. I'm looking at barbells that I don't have or that I shouldn't buy. I have I have like 27 members. I think I have 45 barbells. So it's like
You
there's
got
like
2 barbells per person.
yeah, so there's like no reason for me to be like looking for certain things that I'm just constantly looking on at
Oh,
Facebook
that's great.
Marketplace. So yeah,
Yeah. There's this there's a vintage collector that just he knows way more than me about barbells. This guy Ben, and he's doing a the year of barbells. Every single week, he puts out a post with a new barbell. I'll share his Instagram with you. You should check him out. Every week,
okay,
he details a different barbell he has in his collection. So you might not want to look at it. It'll pique your interest tomorrow of them.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'll take a look.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
So tell me, I mean, I don't want to leave barbells before I ask. You mentioned briefly there, you said, oh, well, these Alicos, I think they're the better ones. Which ones did you mention there? Why are they the better ones in your opinion? Is it the knurling? Is it just the
Yeah,
feel?
whatever they did with the knurling back then
Okay.
was just different. They're finer. So like if you look at like the little diamonds,
Uh-huh.
the little not the little diamond of the knurl itself, it's like half the size.
Okay.
So they're like way smaller. It's way less aggressive, but it still has a
Yeah.
really good grip. But it still can like brush across the thigh well. Or like
So like the
I don't know,
TPI, the teeth per inch, there's more of them.
there's more.
Gotcha.
They're like softer almost, kind of like the new Sakas have like a knurling that like doesn't feel crazy aggressive. Like it's not like stabbing you, but once you get a little chalk in there, it feels like it can lock in. But then I like a knurling that needs to be like I need to be able to grab the barbell, obviously,
Yeah.
but I also there's like a slight bit of drag. I'm sure you see like a lot of weightlifters if you watch any weightlifting that there's a little bit of drag across the thigh for some weightlifters.
Yeah.
That's why you see a lot of them with like rip pants and things like that. So you want something that has like a somewhat aggressive knurl, but something that isn't going to like rip your thigh as you're going up and your shins as well, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, also, like I said, I'm 5'11", but my wingspan is like 6'3.5", 6'4". So I have really long arms. So I'm grabbing the collars. I'm collar to collar. And I got like these baby soft little hands that I can barely hook grip in the corner.
Yeah.
So like if you, I don't know how much you're looking through the Instagram, but I have some posts where I have blown my hands up at 24 World Cup, which is like those are the new illegal bars that I've never lifted on.
Mm-hmm.
Blew my hand up on my first snatch attempt, like blood everywhere. Like couldn't get my hands to stop bleeding. Like couldn't take another attempt because there's too much blood.
It was just more aggressive knurling on it?
The knurling is just more aggressive,
Yeah.
whatever they used to
Then
be. I
what
don't know.
period of time are you talking about? Early 2000s? Like what period of time are you talking about the Lico
I think
bars?
it's early 2000s all the way up until like 2015 or 2016 because I have a 2015 bar from Houston, the 2015 World Championships in Houston that I still like. And then there's one that I believe is 2008 that I love. It was like my favorite. I was like, oh, this is the best knurling. I can't wait. I got it for a steal on Marketplace. I got it for dirt cheap. And the day after, I lifted on it. I hit a PR snatch off the blocks. I dropped it on the blocks and it bounced and it went over and the bar completely bent. This is like the first lift on it. And whatever, like it has a rattle now. It still works, but
that's tragic though.
yeah, I knew it was too good to be true.
Yeah,
for the price,
Oh,
but yeah, the soft and knurling. There's something like if you order like a bar from China, and like a lot of these like newer equipment companies, they all have like that like this really same very aggressive knurling, and I feel like some of these companies maybe don't understand the nuance between like powerlifting and weightlifting.
Yeah,
and like weightlifters don't want anything like a powerlifting bar. But I feel like powerlifting is more popular. Like aggressive knurling for most people is going to be fine. You know what I mean? For like a deadlift or a bench or a squat, right? I've never lifted on a powerlifting bar in my life until the ones that I restored that I sent you. And I actually really like the way it feels because it like digs into your back.
Well, I mean, I could talk about knurling all day, but I would say that for me personally, I came into buying my first like quality barbell and wanting aggressive knurling because I just had these like cheap barbells with like generic like cap barbells with like non-existent knurling.
Yeah, those are really bad.
So then I just wanted something really aggressive, but now I'm to the point where I like something that's kind of sticky, if you will, so chewy. So one of my favorites is American Barbell has a bar, the Chewy bar, that was developed by in conjunction with Home Gym Discord, and it's one of my favorites because it's just really aptly named. It's chewy. It's just kind of instead of like completely shredding your hand, it's almost like Velcro. Like it feels like you're just stuck to it, and I like that a lot more.
I've never used that.
For
example, they make good barbells. American barbell.
I mean the quality is superb with American Barbell. And then I also, some of the older ones like Texas Power Bar, I actually like their second generation bar a lot more than their modern bar. I was just posting today about that it's my favorite Texas Power Bar because it's not as aggressive. In my opinion, it's just, I don't know. It's like the Goldilocks, like it's the right balance. It's right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
So
it sucks when like something is working and then you get like the newer version of it and you're like, oh, it's not the same. Whatever they did here
yeah,
is not what it used to be, you know.
yeah. I don't
But
know.
yeah,
It just
there's a lot of
doesn't
that with
do it for me.
weightlifting bars. Yeah,
Yeah. But then with competitions, you know, you're at, let's go to that. So the competition dictates what bar is used, or how does that work in terms of the barbell that's in the competition?
yeah. I think it's like I believe it's like up for a bid.
Okay.
So I know ZKC have like the rights to basically everything
Hmm.
for the last Olympic quad, which was I hate ZKC.
Okay.
It's really aggressive. It's really spinny. Like it feels like it's like loose almost. You know, it's like
Hmm.
so much spin, which I don't like. It almost feels like the bar is loose inside of the sleeve. Um,
Interesting.
at least that's how I feel personally. I lift on a Usaka bar though. That's like my go-to bar, and a lot of people hate Usaka bars for the exact opposite reason. They don't spin at all. I don't even. I've actually never taken that apart, but there's no way it's a bearing bar. It has to be like a bushing bar, which wouldn't be ideal unless they have some unique thing going on there.
Like proprietary
But,
type thing going
right,
on. Yeah.
because it's a very expensive barbell, but it's very um, like most people. I love that because I get to use it every day. Nobody touches it, but most people
Yep.
don't like it because like if you grab it and just turn it, it won't spin. Like
Hmm.
it'll spin if you know, rotate it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like loosely spin, which I actually really like for like a snatch, right? When you're pulling the bar and then you're placing it behind your head, it kind of
Hmm.
like sticks there. We're like the
Okay.
ZKC, the first time I ever lifted on ZKC was Pan Am's 2022. And Pan Am's is not, it's not like Worlds, right? So you might have like some beater bars in the back. You know, where like
Okay.
world competition, everything is up to standard. So they had like these beater bars in the back with like no spin. I went out there for my opener and I threw
Oh,
165 like behind my head. I caught it and it just kept rolling and it felt like my elbows were going to snap.
oh, jeez.
And it just felt so loose. Like it felt like just so much spin on it. So yeah, I guess off on a tangent there a little bit, but yeah. So they had the
No,
rights for
I
like
love it.
everything, I believe, and I don't know what happened. World Cup was Alico, which was like refreshing.
Hmm.
Even though I thought the bar was still aggressive, I still like it way more than ZKC. And then 2023 Pan Am's was old Alico equipment, which was amazing, which is the one that I won, which is my best meet that I've ever had, ironically,
There you go.
on a bar that I like, on an older Alico bar with the older
Yeah.
Alico plates. I don't really know what happened there because it was supposed to be ZKC apparently, and I think they just kind of told them we don't care. So I don't know I don't know exactly what happened, but I know there was
Yeah.
some drama there. Um, but I love when I see a Alico and I get excited because the ZKC, not only the bar but the plates are like thinner,
Hmm.
so they're like this like they're like not as thin as a powerlifting plate, but they're thicker than a weightlifting plate. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
vice versa. But they just feel dense, the same way that a powerlifting plate feels a lot denser than a bumper,
Yeah.
and it's not. They feel dense and they feel heavy. Um, ironically, my heaviest clean ever is on ZKC, but I hate the feel. Um, yeah, and then the whip as well, right? If you have the plates are further out, you're gonna have more whip on the jerk, so you can kind of pop it off your chest easier. You're gonna, I think, if you have, it's a good amount of actual space that you lose that's how much more compact the CKC plates are than like the Alico plates
Hmm.
or plates that they've used in the past. So I hate the
So,
way it feels. Yeah.
well, I mean, are you just walking into the venue when you find out what bar is being used there, or is it well known ahead of time? Like, do you know
I
you're
think
up against
Yeah, I
the
think we
bar
knew
you
ahead
don't
of time.
like?
I mean, like I said, yeah, I thought that was going to be every Olympic qualifier was going to be CKC. So the Alico was like a pleasant surprise. I find out I don't need to find anything out early because the competition is generally like 2 weeks long, and I
Okay.
go last because I'm a super heavy. So like the first people go, I see they're using Alico. I'm like, okay, amazing,
Yeah.
awesome. I find out early, but it's not early. The competition has started.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't go for a while. But yeah, to my knowledge, it was supposed to be ZKC for every qualifier, and it was ZKC at the Olympics as well. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess they're just putting a lot of money into it that the other companies aren't willing to to put. You know, they're
Yep.
Alico and these other companies are already established. USACA, I love USACA. I can't remember I've never done a competition on USACA in my life,
Hmm.
so I can't remember the last big competition that they had the bid for the equipment.
Well, I know, strong men like to try to train with a certain implement before big competition. Power lifters, if it's a certain, bar that's being used in competition, they like to try to train on that bar. Is there any of that? I mean, if you see it's going to be ZKC, do you have a ZKC in your gym that you
Yeah,
train with to kind of get ready?
I don't. So I'll just use any bar that spins a little bit more.
Hmm.
Generally, basically any. Well, that's not true because I just like to use USACA all the time. But basically, anything else would be closer to a ZKC than the USACA. Like they're like as far
Yeah.
as it gets from each other. I have some meets. I've done
Uh,
that. I'll switch to an Alico or I'll switch to a bar. I haven't really noticed too much of a difference. I mean, for nationals, we competed on Rogue,
okay.
on Pyros bars. I don't own a Pyros bar. I just bought my first Rogue bar like 2 weeks ago, uh, which was a marketplace find. I got
Yeah.
for a pretty good price, but it's still not the one we compete on. It's like the model under it. So
Okay.
it's similar, but it's still not what we compete on. So I've competed at nationals a handful of times. Um, Junior national, or sorry, university nationals, U25 nationals, just nationals 2017, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24. And I've never once trained on the bar that they've had at nationals. So
Interesting. Okay.
a bar, like a bar is like a preference, but it's not like you're going to lift on a bar and then go out there and not be able to lift on,
Yeah.
but definitely I would like if I had the Pyros bar in my gym, I would probably, but the other thing is, like I said, my hands and the shins, I bleed a lot. So it's like I'm also trying to use the bar that preserves my hands the best so that I don't rip my hands like a week before I go and compete.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
Um,
Yeah.
and these competition bars generally are going to be more aggressive. Not
Mm.
gen- they are that's what they are. Like a competition versus a training bar is generally usually just more aggressive knurling,
Hmm.
you know.
Okay.
So if you don't have a hand problem though, maybe.
Yeah. So that's a
So
good point, though, that, there's that balance between preparation in terms of the bar, but also just keeping yourself in the best shape possible going
yeah,
into it. Now, how about injuries, things like that? I mean, uh, you've been competing for a while now, so uh, you know, have you gone through any significant injuries? Have you, knock on wood, not really faced much like in
yeah.
that?
I've been pretty fortunate. One of my friends got a pretty bad injury, and he's young and he has like plenty of time to recover and come back and get better. But I was thinking about it today, and it's like, man, I'm like if I got hit with an injury like that right now, I'm 29, so it's
Yeah.
like, and let's say that took me out until like I was like 30 because he needed like a full knee surgery,
Oh
and it's
wow.
like, man, that would be killer. Like I've been able to just keep lifting and stay healthy, and I'm very fortunate. Like I was feeling grateful for it today. You know what I mean? Like I've lifted.
Yeah.
Like I said, I started in 2014, so it's now been like about 11 years of Olympic weightlifting. I had like a hand injury that I couldn't lift overhead for like 2 months. I tore my TFCC, my triangular fibrocartilage in my wrist. I couldn't go overhead for like 4 months then.
Okay.
But if anything, it kind of set me up really well. I back squatted for 4 months. I did pulls. It was a really good.
Wow.
I got really strong actually. Not being able to do jerks, push, press, or snatch for a while. Um, the hand injury I've done like twice. So I've done like twice where like I can't put a barbell overhead for like 2 months each time,
Hmm.
and then I had a small tear in my meniscus, but I just kept lifting. So I didn't. I've never had anything that required surgery. If that, yeah,
Okay.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Not that I
Yeah.
would. I mean, I think there's some people that they see a small tear in the meniscus or something, and they'll like maybe do some kind of intervention like surgery.
Hmm.
But uh, I'm pretty big on just keeping the body moving every day in like whatever capacity that you can, and it'll probably get better. I mean, there's evidence on there's studies that show like a meniscus repair versus no surgery at all, like where they're at in like a year from that procedure is it's the same.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've been fortunate. I've been able to continue uh, training and always being able to just keep on competing and keep trying to get better because I haven't had to deal with any catastrophic injuries, thankfully.
Yeah.
In
That's excellent.
reality, yeah, injuries happen in every sport, but weightlifting, powerlifting too. They're like there's it's such a controlled situation
Hmm.
Where like I tore my hamstring when I was playing football when I was 15. Where like you don't have anybody trying to take out your knees or trying to take out your head. It's like it's you and a barbell,
Yeah, yeah.
and barring freak things, you don't get injured. You know, like I've seen people rip their patella tendons or quad tendons on like a dip for a jerk. That's a freak thing. It doesn't happen. You know, where
Yeah, yeah.
other sports there's injuries happening all the time. So it's a pretty controlled thing. But yeah, I've still been pretty fortunate. We get for us, it's overuse injuries. You know, people just fighting through pain
Just
for
the repetition of
months
things.
on end, and then one day just goes. You know.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
then, as far as that, fighting through things, your programming, did you have a coach early on? Do you have a coach now? I mean, how do you come up with your training?
Yeah, I had a couple different coaches for the first, I'd say, about 5 years, and then
Okay.
I have a coach now, but it's a kind of a unique relationship because he doesn't do my programming or my coaching really. He doesn't he handles me at meets, so he'll go with me to these
Okay.
international meets and he'll count for me in the back. So the way it is that we have two Team USA coaches, and then you have your personal coach. So you
Hmm.
have Mike Catone and Pierce Demas, which are the USA coaches, and then you have your personal coach back there, which everybody has a different personal coach. So I have a personal coach that like I have a good relationship with, that like looks out for me in regards to like USA weightlifting and has my best interest in mind. But I do my own programming, my own technique. I do my own everything in regards to like performance and in regards to lifting weights. But that's more so because I'm like reluctant to receive people's help for the most part.
Yeah.
Like I think he's like kind of given up on trying to tell me anything because if he tells me anything, I'm just like, yeah, I got it. And it's not him, it's me. I do that with
Sure.
everybody.
Yeah.
That's why I went down the path of doing my own programming and coaching. And in hindsight, I don't know if that was the best thing for me to do. I certainly accomplished plenty. I made a handful of teams, and I won Pan Am's. I was on my own program, my own tapers, my own peaks. But you do kind of in the beginning, I thought it was working really well, but you do kind of fall into like this echo chamber where you're like, I feel like you start losing more and more variation because you're like, this worked really well for me. We're going to keep doing this, and then you kind of keep like, you know, narrowing it down more and more and more to these like very few things that work, and then you're like, you're not doing any variation. You get you lose sight a little bit. So it is nice to like have somebody from the outside looking in,
Mhm.
give you some perspective. So I've been trying to get more open with receiving help for this next because I want to go to the Olympics. That's the
Yeah.
goal. So for 2028, I am trying to make some changes. But that is what I did and what I have been doing up until this
Yeah.
point.
Well, here comes another like explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old type question. So Olympics, there were 4 lifters, I think, in the last Olympics. It's from
What do you mean?
from
Oh,
the United States.
there was five.
Five.
There was
Okay.
two men
So
and three women.
2 men, 3 women,
Yeah,
5 lifters. How? I mean, there's more weight classes than that, correct? So then, how does that happen?
yeah.
Like, how does the decision get made? Who goes? Who doesn't?
Yeah, so I went up to super because, like I said, the path of least resistance, but they also removed 109, which is 240, from the Olympics.
Okay.
So it's been like an ongoing thing with drug use, where they just basically keep like downsizing weightlifting,
Uh-huh.
removing spots, and then they actually removed it from 2028.
Okay.
And then they cleaned it up a little bit and they put it back in, right? So, but it's basically like part of like the threat of like we're gonna eventually get rid of you guys if you can't resolve this doping situation because there's all sorts of people getting popped all the time. In Europe and Asia, there's a lot more doping.
Hmm.
In USA, we're pretty strictly drug tested. I have like 36 tests at home tests. Well, combination of at home and competition over the past like 3.5 years. And like I said, I'm kind of on the end of the list. I'm not even like in the top 1 through 5. So we're pretty strict with that for the most part. But yeah, so that's kind of how the spots are starting to get removed. So they removed
Okay.
5 of the 10 weight classes for the Olympics. So that made things kind of weird too, because you have these
Yeah.
classes that were like traditionally very competitive, no longer competitive. So you go to Worlds, and the 109 class is getting beat up by the 102 because the best 109s have cut to 102 to try to qualify for the Olympics. So you had Olympic classes and non-Olympic classes at every qualifier, which was strange. I don't think that's been a thing before.
Yeah.
So that's one. They removed half from the get. So from the beginning, you got to choose go up or go down. And then to get into the Olympics, it's just top 10 in the world.
Okay.
So for the men, we didn't even have three guys get top 10, which is why we sent two.
Yeah.
For the women, we had, I think, a handful in the top 10. So they just went with the top three of the top 10. So it's like maybe if one was ranked one was ranked three, and one was ranked like five, something like that, they would take those. I know there was a handful of them that were within the top 10. And then the only other way you can get in, which is how I was trying to get in, was the continental spot, which is the best in the continent that doesn't have representation in the top 10.
Okay.
So, which wouldn't like it was plausible. Card. Yeah, it is. Like it is kind of yeah. No, I mean it helped. It could have helped me for sure. It didn't. Yeah. But
the continental spot.
Yeah. So you have Europe, Asia, Oceania, Pan Ams, and Africa. So Europe had like the guy number one spot. Lhasa is the best super. Asia had representation with Gore, I think, in the number two spot with Bahrain, and then there was someone from Africa, like the sixth spot or something like that. So the only ones that didn't have representation in the top 10 were Oceania and Pan Ams.
Okay.
Sadly, the guy from Oceania is really good. Oh. So like that wouldn't be the case.
Up the wild card.
Yeah, it's not the case. It wasn't the case for most weight classes. I think there was only an Oceania guy that was relevant for the sake of the Olympics in my weight class, and then the weight class under. Okay. Where like every other weight class, like the Pan American lifter is much better than the Oceania lifter, especially with like the lower weight classes, like 89 kilos with like some really good Colombians. So the guy with Oceania was right on the bubble, and he was like, I think 12. So I'm like, I can't beat that guy. I'm like, I need that guy to get into the top 10 so the continental spot would fall to the Pan Ams.
Gotcha.
So one, that didn't happen, and two, I got beat out by Kane anyway for the Pan Am spot. So, okay. But yeah, that's how it is. So basically, the short answer is top 10 in the world or that continental spot.
All right. So, hey, I mean, you got your sights set on it, so that's pretty cool. And it sounds like you're changing some things up to try to approach it in the best way possible. As far as your career so far, though, you've had some amazing worldly travels. Like what I was going through your Instagram and then also messaging, you mentioned just kind of off the cuff about like when I was over here, I went to this gym that had this. So, where are some of the spots you've traveled for competition?
Yeah, that was Bansko in Bulgaria. That was in the mountains of Bansko. That was for Europeans, which is really cool. That was a unique situation because we had to go to Continental for the Olympics. Like that was one of the five. There were 7 qualifiers, and you had to do 5. Okay. And one of them was a Continental, and that was 2024 Pan Ams. And the USA Weightlifting did not want to send us to 2024 Pan Ams because it was in Venezuela. There's a lot of turmoil there, and they didn't feel comfortable sending us there. So we got like a guest spot at Europeans. So we couldn't compete for medals or anything, but we were able to go and compete at Europeans for qualifiers. So that was really cool because that's not something an American would normally get to do, experience Europeans.
Yeah.
So that was in Sofia, Bulgaria. And after the competition, I went up to the mountains in Bansko, and that was where they had the weird ski, snowboard shop / arm wrestling gym / weightlifting gym. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's probably the coolest thing about it is all these places you get to travel. So it's like you think about. Granted, you think about like other players, like NFL players, NBA players, and they're making all this money and it's great and all that, which it is great, but it's like they're competing, they're constantly traveling like within the country, going from city to city to city to city. And then one thing that we get to do that's different is like we get to go from country to country, which is like unique to like these Olympic style sports, But Bulgaria, World Cup was in Thailand, World Championships 24 was in Bahrain, 23 was in Saudi Arabia. Grand Prix was in Qatar. Pan Am's 2023 was Argentina. Pan Am's 2022 was in Colombia. The World's Training Camp in 23 was in Paris. So we got to train at the Olympic Training Center in Paris for a week, which is pretty cool. I feel like I'm missing one. I think I said 7, and there's 8. But we definitely got to travel some really cool places. We went to Bariloche in Argentina, which was fantastic.
And I mean, your eyes are set on the competition. You're taking care of yourself. But do you have some time, maybe after competition, like you mentioned in Bulgaria, where you can stick around for a while, maybe delay a flight home?
Yeah. So they'll cover, like, I can put the flight to whatever I want. They just won't cover the excess days that I stay beyond the competition.
Sure.
So the reason we stayed after in Bulgaria, well, that was the one meet that my family actually went. So my dad and my little sister,
Cool.
little brother, and my stepmom went to that meet. So that was pretty cool. We went up to the mountains together, and then my girlfriend has gone to about half of them.
Mm.
So all the ones that my girlfriend has went to, we stayed a couple extra day or two. So that's, yeah, definitely, and that's one of the things is, I wouldn't say it's like a regret, but it's like how I told you, it's like one after the other, and it's so stressful. I wish I could have taken the time to like soak it all in, that I'm here competing for team, like enjoy it more. And as like, you're so fixated on the competition, and you're so, it's all you're thinking about. And I wish, I think I got a little bit better towards the end, the last few qualifiers. It's a mixture of like, I'm probably not going to make it anyway, though. That's probably why those feelings are different. I think back and I had some great times, but there's also a part of me that wish I just would have enjoyed the journey a little bit more, instead of being so fixated on the end result. Like thinking about like, this is all the only thing we're here to do is qualify for the Olympics. And it's like, that's like somewhat true, but you're also like competing for Team USA, like in a different country.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm looking forward to getting back to. I'm trying to qualify for Worlds and Nationals, and it's like competing for medals, right? And going to Pan Am's and like trying to win a medal, because nobody gave a damn about medals. Nobody wanted to medal. Nobody cared. Everybody's just going for crazy totals to make the Olympics. So like, everything was kind of skewed. You're not there to everyone's
the Olympics. So.
Every qualifier, right? So like, I need this number. And I did it a few times. I'd never really bombed out much. I bombed out, I think, like 3 times. This, because you're just trying to put numbers on the board that you can't. You're like not really capable of. You're opening up at like your 99, 100%.
Oh, that's crazy.
Just like swinging for it. And I'm looking forward for nationals. So I didn't qualify for this Pan Am's. The first one I didn't qualify. First international team I didn't qualify for the last like 8. So it's kind of sad, but I'm also excited to go back and just compete at nationals, like compete for a medal, and then, go back to taking it one step at a time.
Yeah.
I tried to qualify for Pan Am's at the Arnold, and I could have won the Arnold. Not that it really matters. A lot of the best lifters in the country weren't there, but I could have won the Arnold with what I hit in my last warm-up attempts.
Wow.
But ultimately just went and opened up at the number I needed for Pan Am's, and I ended up bombing out. And it's like, I'm kind of tired of being so like looking up here and like not living like literally where I'm at in the current, situation. Sure. So I'm kind of looking forward to that again with nationals.
That makes sense.
And the next year, if I make any Pan Am team, we're going there for points. We're going there to compete as a team. We're going there to try to win medals for the entire Olympic quad. All of that was out the window. Not only that, but you're also competing against your teammates. So It's like, it's less team oriented. It honestly, that part wasn't fun. Like competing, it made competing not so fun, the way that they had the qualifier set up.
Well, that's something I was going to ask you about was, you've been at this for long enough that you just mentioned teammates, and now you're competing against your teammates sometimes,
Right.
Is it fair to assume you've gotten to know other Team USA members that are also around, from year to year to year to year? You've traveled the world with some of these people. So, what's that like? Anyone developing friendships or the opposite, so.
Yeah, they're all pretty good people. I've made pretty good friends with most of the ones who've, I guess, allowed me to. Some of them are a little cliquey, and there's like always like a table like of like a handful of lifters that like the ones that kind of just like hang out with everybody, and then like maybe a couple other cliques like dinner and breakfast and lunch. So like some, like I said, some are a little cliquey, some are not, but I've definitely made some good friends. There's no bad blood or beef between anybody or anything like that. Even though I was competing against Kane for the entire Olympic quad, Kane became like one of my better friends throughout the entire quad as well. Like someone that I look forward to seeing at every competition. Well, he's also freaking old. So in the beginning, I looked at him as like a mentor, like someone like, okay, sure. Like my first Pan Am's, I don't know, this guy had already done like 50 international competitions. So he's 37. I joke about him being old. He's old for a weightlifter. But for me, it's like I looked at him as somebody that I could learn from, and things with like being anxious, competing, and how basically I was in the beginning, I was asking him all sorts of questions. I don't know if he was annoyed or not, but I was just like asking him every question you could probably think of about competing, because he's been doing it for so long. Yeah. And then from then on, we became pretty good friends. and a few other guys as well. But him being in my weight class was someone that I talked to the most.
And it's an interesting dynamic, that you're competing against him, but it's cool of him to, not be standoffish, not
Yeah,
try to withhold information from the
no, not
younger
at all. Yeah,
competitor. That's very
right,
cool of
right.
him.
Yeah,
Well,
unfortunately,
plus,
I'm not the younger one either anymore. Now
yeah,
I'm about to
exactly.
turn 32 now, but I'm about to turn 30 as well, not 32.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was in 2022, so I think I was 26, or
Well, you're
27 was
talking
my
about
first.
how
Yeah,
the sport needs support and needs more eyes on it. So it's cool in that respect to help further the sport, to help a younger lifter out. So now that you're not 32, but you're turning 30 as
yeah.
well.
Well, not yeah. I just 30's next. I just turned 29, to be fair, but it is the next number coming.
Yeah.
Um, so,
Well,
but
more than that, it sounds like a really big thing in your life is this past January, the gym opening, Three White
yeah,
Lights. So, you know, you've got a couple years here until Olympic qualifiers, because then 2028.
right.
So the balance of things, you're going to nationals. It's the last weekend of June, which unfortunately I wanted to try to get you out to Home Gym Con. Home Gym Con is
Yes,
the last weekend in June, but that's nationals. You're going to be doing your thing. So
yes.
understandable why you can't make it to Home Gym Con.
Unfortunately,
Maybe next year. We'll see.
maybe next
But
year.
yeah.
Yeah,
But listeners, if you have not purchased your Home Gym Con tickets, use code VINTAGE and get some tickets and come on out. And while you're there, we can still check and, get some updates on what's going on at Nationals. Check in on Mr. Medina here and see how he's doing
yeah.
throughout the weekend. That'll be very cool. But the
Thank you. Yeah.
gym, how's that been going? I mean, we're recording this here in April, so you're still in business after 5 months. How's it going? Or 4 months, 3 months?
Yeah,
Jeez, I can't
yeah,
do my math
yeah,
here. It's
yeah.
late for me.
It's
Three
going pretty
months.
well. I've talked to a couple other gym owners that just told me how the beginnings can be rough, getting people in the door.
Yeah,
So the fact that we have over 20 people, kind of off the bat, we're almost at 30 members now, and if it's like almost 10 members a month.
that's great.
I'm pretty ecstatic about that. I think this is a good opportunity for it to really grow at a really good rate. I like what we're doing there. So, but yeah, the goal is I'm trying to put as much into it as I can right now. Trying to get the gym to become as much as like a passive responsibility as possible by 2026, middle of 2026, so that I can kind of really put everything into that final run into the Olympics.
That's an interesting way to think about it, in preparation
Yeah,
of 2028. And
right.
then qualifiers for it is, yeah, getting this off the ground now is good timing for you in terms of the rhythm of the
Yeah,
Olympics.
towards the end of the last qualifiers, it was like always putting it off, and it's like I'm not going to open quite yet, or I'm not going to, take that like step because I got a lot of other things going on.
Yeah.
But it made it difficult because like the gym is quite large, and like moving I've done most of it on my own, moving the equipment, moving the horse stall mats, and all that, and just
Yeah.
it's like it's not something you want to do. Like you spend the whole day moving things, and then you get like a heavy session the following day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the end of the world, but obviously if you can put yourself in a situation where you don't have to do anything like that, and you could focus on lifting, you're going to be in a better position lifting, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to do everything that I can right now to get the gym up and running, to have coaches and managers just kind of running the ship, so that when the time comes, I could really put my foot down on the gas for this last run.
Oh, it's good representation for the gym as well. So it's
Right.
even though you're stepping back a little bit to set your sights on your training full throttle, you're metaphorically you're helping the gym out. It's good representation. So
Right. I
when it
mean,
comes to that
we're
kind of
lifting
thing,
weights in the gym, so like, we're
exactly,
doing the sport that I'm doing is what we're doing there.
you're
So
doing the thing.
yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, sponsorship stuff like that. I mean, this isn't the 1970s. Olympians are allowed to have sponsorship and whatnot. Are they
Yeah.
not? So,
I've
I
never
mean,
really gone. I've never gone too out of my way to like acquire sponsors. I know some people.
uh,
I'm not very good at social media. If you looked at my page, I just post my lifting. I don't display, too much of like personality or like do the whole social media videos, editing things. I post a lift, and then I just get off.
Alejandro,
I
I'm going to step in right here and say, first of all, Usaka, you said the brand Usaka about 80 times. Like,
Yeah.
Usaka, if you're listening, someone connected to Usaka, could you please get this man something from
Dude,
Usaka? I mean,
Usaka would
geez.
be. They actually are hooking me up with some plates.
There you go.
Fixing some.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of yeah. So yeah, they're going to be helping me out a little bit, but nothing too. It's hard to get sponsorships because, like you said, there's not money in the sport, so it's like there's not a reason for a lot of these companies to like invest money in a sport that like won't really give them too much return.
Uh-huh.
So like I have a couple sponsorships, but they're pretty much all commission based. I'm working on one right now with another company, another equipment company that will have like a small stipend,
Yeah.
and then like some like metal compensations and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, all the sponsorships that I have currently and have had in the past are all just commission based off of sales. It's difficult to get a sponsor.
Well,
But
drop
again,
some
I've
of
never
those.
really gone too out of
You
my
get,
way.
Medina, you got to get better
Yeah.
with this. Drop some of those right now. Who are these? Who are these companies that you're working on commission with? Who? How can
Um,
listeners help you out if they're looking to pick up something?
so the weightlifting shoes that I wear are Lu
Okay,
Jiaojin shoes. So you can use Medina 10 for 10% off any of their products.
there
And
it
the wrist
is.
wraps and the belts that I wear are Onyx products. You could also
Okay,
use Medina 10 for 10% off of any of that. And I'm currently working with Bulldog to try to get some kind of partnership going with him. He's the owner has been to my gym a few times. I've gotten some prototype things, some bars, a lot of Bulldog plates, which I love. And they've been in the game for a while. I don't know if you're too familiar with Bulldog. It's their weightlifting company.
hmm.
So they don't have any like iron plates or anything like that, but
Yeah, yeah.
they've been doing it I think for about 30 years. And there's some
Okay,
really cool vintage weightlifting videos from like the Bulgarian team from like the 90s. And they're all using Bulldog equipment.
oh, that's cool.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah. And he wants to bring back those vintage plates. So like I do
Yeah,
want to be a part of this, and I have the gym as well. Like it could be a pretty successful partnership. Uh,
keep me
but
updated
yeah,
on
so
that. That's very cool. Yeah.
yeah. He said he wanted to do something like the Chrome that I posted. I don't know if he had like powerlifting plates in mind in the future
Uh-huh.
or something, but if we can get like another set of Chrome to match the Chrome, because now that I got those
Yeah.
Chrome plates in there, I don't want to get like regular powerlifting plates
Yeah.
like to put in there.
You
I want to
can't
get
go back
more
now.
Chrome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, they're pretty cool looking plates. The
they
Chrome.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, uh, it's tough to go back from there. I have a couple different chrome plates, and I do like the shiny. Every once in a while, I go back and forth personally. Sometimes I like a just an old school deep dish that's
Yeah.
just battle scarred and been around forever. Other times something that's like crisp and nice looking. That's just you know that's why I like having so many different weights, so many different barbells too. Sometimes you just get in the mood for a certain one, and whatever
Yeah.
gets you lifting gets you in the gym. So, listeners, I'll drop all of that information in the description to this episode. So, if you're interested in any of the weightlifting shoes, anything from Onyx that Medina mentioned there, Medina 10, we'll drop links and drop the codes down there in the description for you to check out. So, as far as the future, it's looking bright. We'll definitely be following you,
Appreciate
and
that.
on Instagram, you're Medina_Island. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, listeners, if you want to check them out, and I encourage you to check them out, it's some pretty incredible lifts. Just to see what Alejandro's up to, and you also even posted your barbell restoration too. So,
I did. I posted it on my story, the first barbell that I restored, and a lot of people really liked it. And then a couple people asked me, like, a couple people actually said, like, this should be a post, not a story. And
yeah,
oh, I thought about it, but like also my camera didn't record like half the restoration. And I was like, whatever. So like I made a conscious effort to try to get a little bit more of it on footage for the following one and to post it on my actual post. And yeah, people like it. It's
yeah,
satisfying watching dirty things get like dirty beat up things get clean and useful. Like
yeah,
so, and it's a fun process, as you know. It's a rewarding process to like see something that like you
yeah.
like is about to be tossed away and then make it look pretty close to brand new.
there's like an environmentalist kind of aspect to it. It's good for the earth, you know. It's bringing something back to life, putting it to use. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's I mean, people have listened to my podcast or that have watched my videos on YouTube, Vintage Weights PGH, know that like a lot of times I'll personify weights and talk about them a little too obsessively, but that is something I truly believe, that you're kind of
yeah,
like bringing it back to life. This kind of forgotten rusty thing that someone had in their garage or had in their basement that, you know, might have just gotten pitched in the trash. So
yeah. And that's part of why I reached out. I looked up a handful of different videos, and everybody's just like soaking their stuff in vinegar. And
yeah.
this one video, they soaked the whole barbell, which I thought was kind of
Oh
crazy. Because I'm like, what happens to the inside? It's like you didn't take the sleeves
yeah,
off
that's
or
not good.
anything.
Don't do
And then
that.
like other people are like scraping barbells that have some kind of coating or nice. They're a nice barbell. They're just like scraping it
Oh
with like wire brushes, and then
yeah,
vinegar, scrape it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
everyone's kind of just doing the same thing, either just hitting it hard with vinegar, hitting it hard with a wire
The
brush.
wire brush. Yeah.
And like wire brush can be used, right? As you know, for like some things, but like
Sure,
there's a
sure.
lot of finishes that like you probably don't. And then you were pretty like you had an allowance for a lot of different nuance when it came to like cleaning a barbell. And then you have the oxalic acid and all these different things. And I was like, okay, you know, this guy looks like he knows a little bit more what he's doing. So like,
I
and
appreciate it.
like it's a pretty niche thing, right? I was like,
Yeah,
okay, you probably
totally.
don't have, you know, you're probably not impossible to get a hold of, right? You probably don't have a million followers on
Yeah.
Instagram. So I
No,
looked up
not at
your
all.
Instagram,
Yeah,
gave you a follow and shot you a
yeah,
message to see if I can get some advice on
yeah.
cleaning the barbells. Because yeah, I watched probably too many videos on how to clean a barbell, and yeah,
Yeah,
your videos are, I'm like, yeah, this guy is on a different level than like what most of these people are posting. Most of these people are posting like the
appreciate it,
very,
man.
you know, just like I said, vinegar and scrape the shit out of it, and then
Well, I
you
mean, I'm
know,
far from the first. I learned from
yeah,
guys that were obsessed way before me, and I started out just like those people. One of my first YouTube videos, I was just grinding the heck out of this old curl bar with a wire brush. So I mean, I
yeah.
started out too with the vinegar and the wire brush and stuff like that, but then I learned along the way a different process and what's best for
Yeah.
certain finishes, like you
I
said.
mean,
And
at the end of the day, the vinegar and the wire brush will work,
oh
right?
yeah,
Like
it's just
it'll
gonna
bring if
destroy
it's
certain bars,
right,
you
exactly.
know.
But if like you're cool with the bare steel, it works. Or if it was
Yeah,
bare steel to start, it works, you know.
sure, sure.
But right, there's
And
a lot more nuance to it.
yeah, I mean, but you can really scratch the heck out of a bar too, and some people might not care. They just want the
Right.
rust off. But I really don't want a bar that's all scratched up and crazy looking and feeling. I'd rather have something I want to pick up and lift with. So yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of. I also do review videos, so I have some barbell. Actually, a whole series of barbell videos coming up the next 2 months. Of I'm going back. What I'm going to do is go back and forth. I'm going to review a vintage bar, and then I'm going to review a modern bar, back and forth, back and forth.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm going into like a
And
whole barbell era.
what's your like primary like what do you enjoy lifting? Like powerlifting, strongman, or
I would say that, you know, a powerlifting base, just squat, you know, squat, bench, deadlift when I was younger, and I'm in my 40s now, and I've gravitated the past 5 years to grip strength. So the only thing I compete in is grip strength now. So
okay. I
and
saw
for home
something, but
gym,
that was you're flipping the plates with the deep dish
yeah,
plates. Right?
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
see they got
So
competitions for I don't even know what that is, but I'm sure it's more popular than
yep.
weightlifting. That's how they
Here's the
like we're
easiest way to describe it is picking up really weird things that are hard to pick up.
yeah.
So, you know, instead of a traditional barbell, a Saxon bar that's shaped like a square.
Right.
Instead of just a normal dumbbell, a thick handle dumbbell that has a 2 3/8 inch thick handle. Um, Instead of a regular barbell, an axle that's 2 inches thick, picking that up,
That actually might
deadlifting
benefit
that.
me.
There you go. So that's why
My
I actually
grip
like
issue.
grip strength, is that it brings the weight down big time. So, you know, if you're deadlifting whatever, you were deadlifting 500 pounds, well, you're probably going to deadlift 250 to 300 on an axle.
Right.
So, well, you're going to deadlift a lot more than that.
Right.
Well, then again, I don't know. You
I
said you had baby hands. So
the
I
hand
don't know.
the hands are I got a pretty good hook grip. It's
There
more
you go.
because like we obviously we use hook grip. It's more just that the wide grip, and I don't think I know you were just joking. I don't think it's an actual grip issue per se. It's just that the hands just rip. Like they just.
Yeah.
It's been better though. I've been like making a conscious effort to take care of it because it happened. Like I said, at World Cup,
Yeah.
and I hit my opener, and then for our second attempt, we had to keep bumping up because
Okay.
they won't let you go back on the bar. The medical won't, because like
Mm.
this was completely open and bleeding, and this was completely open and
Oof.
just like wouldn't stop bleeding. We tried crazy gluing it, we tried wrapping it up, we couldn't get the blood to stop like pushing through. So
Yeah.
you have to like keep pushing attempts to try to buy time on the clock. You only have a couple changes. You use all the changes. Now my hand is still bloody. There's a weight on the bar that I can't hit anymore because we went too
Ugh.
heavy, and it's a disaster. And then
Yeah.
it happened again. I cut down to 109. I qualified for Worlds again in Bahrain, and second snatch attempt it happened again. And my coach, he's like, Medina, come on. I'm like, it's not like it's not like something that I can,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, you know what I mean. So, but I have been trying to like just shave them down and like using like just creams and lotions and things.
Yeah.
My hands are just so dry, they just blow up in the calluses. But
I
it's
feel your
tough.
pain a little bit because, well, with grip strength, you're testing your hands a lot.
Yeah.
So trying to stretch your hands too, like blobs. I don't know if you know what a blob is.
Nope.
It's a half of a York round head dumbbell, like the old York dumbbells,
Okay.
and the achievement is picking up a half 100, which doesn't sound like that much. It's 50 pounds, but getting your hand around it and picking it up
Right.
is like a feat of strength that
It looks
not
like
many
Patrick
people can
Starr's
do.
house.
Yeah.
Kind of what's going on there. Like
What's
it's
that?
like it looks like Patrick Starr's house. Like it's like that's
Yeah,
the shape of it. Like it's
exactly.
like a
There you go.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm only up to a half 90 right now, and I've been at it for a while. And then Thomas Inch dumbbell too is a feat of strength. It's 172 pounds, the replica dumbbell, but it's got a handle the size of a Coke can. So you're not just picking up 172 pounds one
Right.
handed, you're picking up this Coke can. But
But
where
you
I'm
can't
going
even
with
get
this
your hand
is
around it. Yeah.
constantly, since you're stretching your hand, like you'll get well, I shouldn't say everybody, I'll get a thumb tear like right in
Yeah.
here. So I'm
Yeah.
always trying to kind of
It's
work
the
on my
same as
hands and make sure that it doesn't tear. Because if it tears, well, then I can't really train grip
yeah.
as effectively.
It's like the same as like a snatch. It's that awkward angle in combination with some weight that kind of like puts a stretch in a weird spot,
Yeah.
and then
So,
it just tears. But
uh, and I still do all the regular lifts just to stay in shape and stay healthy, but then I throw in all the grip training with it. So
yeah.
if you
Dude,
ever get curious about it and you happen to be around Pittsburgh, or if I'm ever in Miami, I can
I
show
mean,
you some stuff.
maybe I'll take it up
Yeah,
after. I need to like remain competitive to some degree. I think for
yeah,
my sanity. So
exactly.
like I joke about it all the time that when I'm done with weightlifting, I'm gonna do something, whether it's powerlifting or grip training
Come in, man.
or chess or tennis. I'm gonna do something and like compete.
Oh,
Like I feel like I'm gonna compete in whatever capacity I can in anything until the day I die. So if grip training is where I excel when I'm 45,
do it.
I'll do it.
It's
You
I
know,
mean, there's some pretty big net like Brian Shaw, world's strongest
yeah,
man. He's getting into grip.
yeah,
So I mean, yeah, it's there's
right.
people. It's like anything
People
else.
are doing it. Yeah,
It's a small sport within a small sport, but the people that are into it are super competitive. So I'm the director of the grip strength competition at Home Gym Con and planning it.
okay,
And there's right now we've got 17 people signed up. And last year it's friendly because everyone knows you're a bunch of weirdos.
yeah,
So
yeah,
everyone's friendly with each other. But when it's their turn to lift, they're competitive. They're trying to
yeah,
outdo each other. They're looking like, okay, this person just put up this number. I'm going to try to do this, put
yeah.
5 more on the bar. So,
I feel
yeah,
like weightlifting is similar. Like it's such a small niche community. It's not like we can really afford to be mean to anybody, even if we wanted
exactly.
to. You know what I mean? Not that we
Yeah.
want to, but yeah, weightlifting. I feel like we're on a similar boat. What other events do you have at this convention?
Let's see. Well, there's the strongman competition as well. So,
Is that the biggest one?
it had a lot of competitors. I think he had like 60 competitors last year. He had a lot. I felt like every other person on the day of the competition was wearing a strongman shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a big one. And I had 30 competitors in the grip strength competition last year, which was humongous. Usually there's like 7 people doing a grip strength
Right.
competition. So 30 was a huge turnout, and that was pretty cool. 31 to be exact. because I jumped into competition too.
Yeah.
And then last year there was a powerlifting, or not powerlifting, sorry, Olympic weightlifting. There's Olympic weightlifting because it was actually, we're at a different venue this year. Last year, Home Gym Con was in Indiana, and this year we're in Louisville, Kentucky. But last year in French Lick, Indiana, upstairs where I was recording some podcasts, the Olympic weightlifting was going on the other side of the room. So you just hear like boom, boom, like
Yeah.
all these weights dropping as I'm trying to like interview people. So yeah,
That's cool. That's what I was going to ask, if there
awkward.
wasn't, maybe we can get that started if there wasn't already an Olympic weightlifting competition for the Home Gym
Yeah.
Con.
And well, it's bad timing this year for you. You got to do your
Right.
thing at nationals, but
Yeah.
next year, definitely you got to come out, and Rogue will be there, and Rogue is the bar for nationals, like the Pyros, right?
Yeah. The press
And
bar.
again, we got to work on these sponsorships. I mean, Rogue, can you get this man a Pyros barbell? I mean, he's trying to get ready for nationals. Can someone connected with Rogue that happens to hear this get Alejandro a Pyros bar sent to Miami to 3 White Lights Gym? It
I'll
can't be
take
that
one.
hard to look up 3 White Lights Gym and send a bar there. Come on.
Yeah.
No,
I appreciate that. I'll take a barbell for sure.
I doubt that Bill H., the owner of Rogue, is listening to my podcast, but hey, you never know.
You never know who's listening, right?
Never know. Hey,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on, man. I
Absolutely,
appreciate
man.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was a good time.
Yeah, I'll stay in touch, and I'll be sharing some of those barbell restoration pics on my Instagram as well, because I'm impressed with your work restoring the
Thank you.
barbells, but definitely impressed with your work lifting the bar.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get a couple more as well. Barbells that I'll
Yeah,
probably end up sending to you over the next couple of weeks or months. So
I look forward to it. Well, listeners,
absolutely.
check out Alejandro on Instagram. It's Medina_Island. I'll drop all of his info in the description, and definitely be rooting for him as we approach the next Olympics. This is
Appreciate
Rob
that.
for Home Gym History Podcast.